Hello, we're back again. As I said towards the end of the last session, that it's very, very important that while we deal with emergency situations that always come about, no matter whether it's Ukraine or other aspects of life, it is important that we have a long-term strategy and plan. And I think that UkraineInvest is precisely that for Ukraine. It is my pleasure now to introduce Sergiy Tsivkach, the executive director of UkraineInvest. He's had a long, distinguished career. He is qualified as a commercial attorney, both in Ukraine and the UK. And I have been impressed by his boundless energy as he's gone about promoting Ukraine and direct investment in Ukraine. So Sergiy, it is my pleasure now to turn over the microphone to you.
Thank you very much, Nadia. Thank you. It's a great pleasure to be here today and to speak at this excellent event, Ukraine in Washington and beyond. And it is very important to mention that Ukraine needs to have strong relations with the US as with any other countries throughout the world. So we need to have our allies, and we do have them, and we need to build our relations on economic and investment principles. So now today we will have two sessions. I will moderate session number one. It will be focused on manufacturing in Ukraine. Ukraine, from our point of view, has strong potential and already developing as European manufacturing hub. Manufacturing, it's about bringing real investment into the country, because when we will see many more manufacturing investors in Ukraine, then we will understand that Ukraine finally becomes even more interesting for international investors. That would be a strong signal of developed rule of law. That will be a strong signal of developed industry in the country, access to finance, proper functioning of enforcement agencies, and also level playing field, specifically between state and private enterprises in Ukraine. So many things will be needed to make us a strong European manufacturing hub, but when we will achieve that, it will be a very strong signal to the whole world. So UkraineInvest has developed a special program called Make in UA. I will make a brief presentation on the program, but before that, I would like to introduce speakers that will be on the panel today. We expect Dmytro Kysylevskyi, Member of Parliament of Ukraine, to join us in 10 or 15 minutes. He is quite short in terms of time, so when he will appear, I will stop my presentation, give him time, he will speak, and then I will continue, if that will happen during my presentation. Then it is my pleasure to introduce Governor of Rivne region, Vitaliy Koval, who is the great supporter of development of investment in his region and in Ukraine, and they have managed to develop furniture cluster, and they're working even further to promote region. And this is a very good example, because we need to see strong regions. We need to see regions that compete in a good way between themselves, and by doing so, promoting system of facilitation of investments in their territories. Also, we will have Franklin McMahon. He's an international businessman and a US national who is doing a great job, and he is in Ukraine for many years now and recently opened a new factory and has some new plans for Ukraine. So it would be very interesting to listen to his experience and his views on current Ukraine. And also Svitlana Yarova, who is an excellent example of Ukrainian manager, of Ukrainian, I would say also a statesperson in her heart and mind, because she is the head of Vinnytsia industrial park, and that industrial park has some very big names already present there, companies like HET that are near the industrial park, and other Ukrainian and foreign companies. And I know that she is working now and the whole team on Vinnytsia on attraction of new investors, and we are doing that actually jointly with UkraineInvest. So I would like to switch to my presentation now to give you some flavor about manufacturing in Ukraine. And if I can ask my team to load it up, please. Thank you. Can we do a full screen mode? Thank you very much. So Ukraine, Making UA, we are creating this program in order to come up with targeted investments in manufacturing, because Ukraine is not about potential. Ukraine should be about concrete proposals, real proposals that are available for investors in Ukraine. Can I have next slide? Ukraine, some macro financial figures. You can see that FDI stocks are rising. FDI inflows, even though in 2020 we have seen very sharp decrease in FDI inflows. In first half of 2021, we already can see $2.8 billion of positive inflow into Ukraine. A big amount of that money comes from reinvestment. We would like to see more capital investment, foreign investment in Ukraine, of course, but still reinvestment is a good thing because we can see that economy and industry is picking up. Our international rankings, Fitch, Standard & Poor's and Moody's are BB stable, and you can see that Fitch changed our ranking to be positive. Manufacturing the share of manufacturing in Ukrainian GDP this year is 11.7%. This is actually the strongest number for the last 3 years. We want to see how the 2021 will end, and this is a very good sign, as I said, but we need to develop it even further. Next slide, please. This slide is about investments in manufacturing. You can see that FDI inflows in manufacturing in Ukraine were quite steady if we compare 2018 and well, actually they were changing and steady in a way that now is they're developing. So in 2019, $740 million came into Ukrainian manufacturing sector. In 2020, there was sharp decrease, minus 820 million. And in first half of 2021, we already see $1.5 billion invested in the sector. It was always quite steady in terms of a part of the general FDI stock in Ukraine. So usually manufacturing in Ukraine was about 25% of the total FDI stock, and it is almost same figure now. Share in manufacturing 11.7%, as I said, and we can compare this to some countries. Poland 17%, Switzerland 18%, Germany 18%, Czech Republic 22%, China 26%, Ireland 35%, quite a big number, and United States 11%. But we need to remember that the annual GDP of United States is about $20 trillion, dollars. So 11% is a big number. Can I have a next slide? How do we see development of FDI inflows in Ukraine? At the moment, UkraineInvest has been designated to support projects according to investment nannies law, and more than 70% of those projects, they come from manufacturing. So we have 27 preliminary applications. Total amount is over $2 billion. And also we have a new law on industrial parks. This law will unlock potential of economic zones of industrial parks in Ukraine. There will be incentives like 10 years corporate tax relief and financial support, non-interest loans from the government. So we have these two mechanisms of investment incentives. And we have our strategy making US. So taking into account that we had about $2 billion in projects according to investment nannies law, and also we will have industrial parks law, our rough estimate is that we can double our FDIs in manufacturing in 5 years. Why 5 years? Because it takes up to 2 years to bring investor, to find investor, to sign contracts, to go through procedure under industrial park system or under investment nannies law, and then to build factory itself. So we think that annual FDI inflow in 5 years at level of $4 billion plus, it's a possible figure, and this should be our target. Next slide, please. How we approach our program, our strategy making Ukraine. So first of all, we analyze Ukraine's competitiveness, key figures, and we also look for partner countries. Then we start cooperation with regional authorities, financial institutions in Ukraine, and on international level with international think tanks, research institutions, business associations, and other partners. Then on regional level, we collect all relevant data and analyze it. Data like access to raw materials, actual number of labor force in the region, quality of roads, ports, etc., and also success cases, because investors want to see where are regions in Ukraine more effective and where already international companies doing some good business. And this will then lead to creation of a Make in UA online portal. It will be portal with cross-country data for investors, exactly the data I mentioned and even more. When we cooperate with our international partners, we will be working on them on identification of the most promising sectors to invest in Ukraine and their interest, because this cooperation should be based on a win-win basis. In terms of United States, for example, we can see several priority sectors like agri, processing, furniture, metalworking, pharmaceuticals, and automotive. So we think that these five sectors would be the most interesting for manufacturing investors. And all this information should be finalized in the form of analytical papers and then presented in Ukraine and internationally. This will lead then to identification of investment leads, and leads could be two different types: region to business and business to business. Region to business opportunity is when we have analyzed a specific region of Ukraine and we can see that this type of manufacturing facility can be located effectively in this region. Then we look for specific companies throughout the world that may be interested and approach them and explain the opportunity. And business to business is about joint ventures, successful, effective Ukrainian companies that can cooperate with foreign partners, but are looking at the moment for them and still do not know who to contact. We have a very good example of this business-to-business inquiry. One of the biggest, strong Ukrainian agricultural companies that is active in the growing of seeds. They approached us and they said that they want to move down to a value-added production, but they need to find a partner abroad. They're looking for a partner in United Kingdom and in Gulf countries and in other areas in order to bring technology to Ukraine, process their materials, and then find consumer market jointly. So this is a very good example of what can be done, because foreign company also needs Ukrainian partner who has access to raw materials. So it's a win-win cooperation. After that, we will move to an outreach campaign. This will be done on a peer-to-peer basis, so company to company or region to company. We invite all interested to participate in our program and to create this program and identify investment leads jointly. Next slide, please. How we identify our partners, quite simple. So these countries should have significant investment in Ukrainian economy. So far, all these countries are in top 10. As our priority, we see USA, Great Britain, Germany and France, Norway, Sweden, Finland and Denmark. Also, these countries should have developed manufacturing sector. Next slide. In terms of United States, why do we think that Ukraine is competitive? Because our hourly labor cost in manufacturing is generally, on average, 84% cheaper than in US. Electricity prices 15% cheaper, gas prices 8% cheaper. Also, you can see that all these countries that are mentioned in the left bottom corner of slide do not have FTAs with the US. So US companies that will be locating production lines in Ukraine will be able to benefit from existing FTAs of Ukraine with Great Britain, United European Union, Iceland, Norway, Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, and other countries. Also, Ukraine is very interesting at the moment in terms of its potential for relocation or nearshoring. And according to Savills nearshoring index, out of 40 countries, Ukraine ranked number 2 in terms of its competitiveness to relocate production facilities to our country. Next slide. Companies that will be manufacturing goods in Ukraine, they will have access to a wider market, not only our internal market, but to market within 2,000 miles or within Ukrainian radius. And we are talking here about more than 800 million consumers. These are consumers that come from the European Union, CIS selected countries, Persian Gulf, UK, Switzerland, Norway, Turkey, and our internal market. Next slide. US exported in 2020 alone to the region, to the countries that I mentioned in my previous slide, goods in amount of $359 billion US dollars. And according to World Trade Center, US has untapped potential to export products in this region for another $190 billion US dollars. According to our preliminary analytics, we can see that US companies can produce at least up to 10% of this untapped potential in Ukraine. In agri-processing, 7.7 billion US dollars, metal products, $4 billion US dollars, wooden products, $798 million, pharmaceuticals, over $3 billion, and automotive parts, mainly $3.6 billion. Next slide, please. Ukraine already, I can see Dmytro Kysylevskyi. I will switch to you in a minute. I'm just finishing my presentation. So at the moment, Ukraine already produces parts or products for these two brands that you can see on your screen. Brands like Kia, Bentley, Heinz, Unilever, Nestle, and other companies. So we have a good track record of cooperation with top brands throughout the world. Next slide. This is about entering Ukraine and action plans. So UkraineInvest is always open to support you. When you have idea, you can get in touch with us. We will advise you how to move forward through investment nannies law, through industrial parks, or through other system of incentives that are available now in Ukraine. And we will provide you with full support during implementation of your project and full aftercare support for your project. Next slide, please. These are the services that we provide to companies from throughout the world: B2B and B2G introductions, analytics, company incorporation and licensing procedures support, land plots, registration, tax and customs compliance, labor and migration matters advisory, communication with law enforcement, and other related matters. Next slide. UkraineInvest and our results. During 2021, we have managed to attract and support investments for amount of $1.1 billion. We provided 2,500 consultations to investors. We are now working on 27 projects under investment nannies law. As I said, we organized 120 webinars with 2,600 experts throughout the world, and 10 UkraineInvest talks, so major conferences. Our media coverage during these 2 years was 4 million and 250,000 people in social media. Next slide. You can see our contacts on the screen. And now I'm always happy to speak to any investors, and please do get in touch with us through email and through our telephone number. That is the fastest way to get in touch with us. We always answer any inquiries that we receive. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Dmytro Kysylevskyi, Member of Parliament of Ukraine, who is working actively on development of manufacturing through update of regulatory systems in Ukraine, through update of relevant laws. And they have been doing some great job. Like, for example, Dmytro and other members of Parliament, they have voted for, someone has on and some at the background. Someone is talking next to you, maybe?
Yes, unfortunately, I'm still at the committee. So thank you, Sergiy. May I speak Ukrainian?
Thank you.
Okay, so may I speak in Ukrainian? Is the translation available? Yes?
Yes, translation will be provided by organizers.
Okay, so thank you. I will switch to Ukrainian if you don't mind. Отже, колеги, доброго дня. Мене звати Дмитро Кисилевський. Я заступник голови економічного комітету Українського парламенту. Свій виступ я почну з тези, яка може здатися учасникам Заходу зі Сполучених Штатів дещо несподіваною, бо зазвичай, коли українські чиновники і політики приїздять до США, то розмови в економічній площині йдуть здебільшого про боротьбу з корупцією. Це важливі речі, звичайно, боротися з корупцією потрібно, і для цього в Україні за порадами наших іноземних партнерів створено багато спеціалізованих антикорупційних інституцій, ми їх добре фінансуємо, фактично ми створили новий вид економічної діяльності, такої боротьба з корупцією. Проте ми намагаємося не тільки слухати ті поради, які нам надають наші шановні іноземні партнери, а й уважно вивчати той реальний досвід успішних країн на шляху до економічного успіху, який вони самі втілювали в реальному житті. В першу чергу це стосується досвіду Євросоюзу і Сполучених Штатів. І ми розуміємо, що невід'ємною частиною цього шляху є державне стимулювання своєї економіки, є захист внутрішнього ринку, є стимулювання експорту, підтримка наукоємних галузей. Тож ми поступово починаємо впроваджувати у себе в країні такі підходи, і наші ініціативи покликані сприяти тим, хто створює виробництво і робочі місця тут в Україні, хто інвестує в реальний сектор і залучає місцевих виробників в свої ланцюги поставок. Я коротко розповім про кілька таких ініціатив. Це локалізація у державних закупівлях, це індустріальні парки та стимули для проєктів з великими інвестиціями, можливо, про них вже згадували сьогодні, вибачте, якщо я повторюсь, і експортно-кредитне агентство. Отже, локалізація. Ця ініціатива стосується державних закупівель і вимоги місцевої складової. Україна витрачає на державні закупівлі близько 23 мільярдів доларів США на рік, з яких біля 10 мільярдів витрачає на імпорт. Це близько 40%. Зрозуміло, що така доля імпорту в державних закупівлях не може влаштовувати державу, яка хоче забезпечити роботою своїх громадян. І в цьому сенсі ми переймаємо кращий досвід Сполучених Штатів, є такий Buy American Act, ми його вивчаємо, і досвід Євросоюзу з відповідними директивами. Тож ми зараз запроваджуємо підхід, за яким ті інвестори, які розгорнули виробництво в Україні або залучили українських виробників у свої виробничі ланцюги, отримують від держави хороший бонус. Власне, доступ до ринку публічних закупівель. На першому етапі це стосуватиметься продукції машинобудування. Ми обмежимо доступ до державних закупівель імпортних товарів з походженням з країн СНД, Китаю, Туреччини і інших країн, які не є підписантами угоди GPA. Це угода Світової організації торгівлі по публічним закупівлям. Для товарів зі Сполучених Штатів, Євросоюзу, скоріш за все, буде зроблено виключення. Але, тим не менше, розгортання виробництва в Україні – це гарантований доступ до державних закупівель. Тому, будь ласка, ми готові віддавати державні гроші тим, хто створює робочі місця і залучає технології в нашу країну. Вимога локалізації почнеться з 10% і поступово збільшуватиметься до 40% з кроком 5% на рік. Відповідний законопроект прийнятий зараз в першому читанні парламентом і незабаром буде прийнятий в цілому. Тож ми очікуємо, що в 2022 році ця ініціатива запрацює. Наступне – індустріальні парки. Це розповсюджений інструмент, суть якого полягає в створенні територій пріоритетного розвитку. Ми запроваджуємо в Україні фінансові та фіскальні стимули для індустріальних парків і тих компаній, які створять там виробництво. Вже набув чинності закон, за яким передбачена можливість державної компенсації вартості підведення доріг і мереж до індустріальних парків. Передбачена можливість компенсації вартості підключення до мереж всередині парку і можливість компенсації відсоткових ставок по кредитам. На наступний рік вперше в бюджеті планується передбачити кошти на ці фінансові стимули. В процесі схвалення парламентом ще два законопроекти, які передбачають звільнення від імпортного мита і імпортного ПДВ на обладнання для виробництва і право не платити 10 років податок на прибуток. І також право органів місцевого самоврядування надавати пільги по місцевим податкам. Я очікую, що наступному році ці фіскальні стимули також запрацюють. Таким чином, після набуття чинності цих двох законопроєктів по індустріальним паркам, Україна запропонує інвесторам наступне. Ділянка промислового призначення, до якої за рахунок держави чи за рахунок муніципалітету підведені дороги і інженерні мережі. Держава надає компенсацію по підключенню до мереж всередині парку і компенсації відсоткових ставок за кредитами. Резидент індустріального парку може без мита і без ПДВ завести обладнання і не сплачувати податок на прибуток, реінвестуючи його в виробництво. Ось це така, мені здається, вже непогана пропозиція для тих, кому цікава Україна як площадка, майданчик для розміщення виробництва. По цій ініціативі один закон вже прийнято, я казав, і ще два в процесі розгляду в парламенті. Стимули для проєктів з великими інвестиціями або, як їх у нас називають, інвестиційні няні. За набором стимулів, я думаю, що Сергій вже про них розповідав, тому я не буду детально на цьому зупинятися, але за набором стимулів вони певною мірою схожі на індустріальні парки, але з одного боку є вимога по розміру інвестицій, це великі інвестиції, ну принаймні як для України, понад 20 мільйонів євро, але немає прив'язки до конкретної території, що для великого інвестора може бути зручніше. По цьому виду ініціатив, по цим стимулам вже прийняте все законодавство, прийняті, наскільки мені відомо, всі підзаконні акти, тож Міністерство економіки і UkraineInvest приймають заявки від зацікавлених сторін на участь у цій формі державного стимулювання економічного розвитку. І підтримка експорту. Україна цього року нарешті запустила роботу установи з підтримки експорту. Це називається вона експортно-кредитне агентство. Ця установа отримала фінансування, отримала офіс, сформований штат, і зараз українське це експортно-кредитне агентство вже почало пропонувати якийсь комерційний продукт. Зараз він лише один – це страхування некомерційних ризиків, але незабаром перелік послуг збільшиться. Зокрема, ми очікуємо появу страхових полісів, які прийматимуться банками як забезпечення по експортним кредитам, і також програму компенсації відсоткових ставок по кредитам для експортерів. Тобто це державні форми підтримки експорту. В усіх промислово розвинених країнах такі інституції є. Я щасливий з того, що цього року вона запрацювала в Україні. Я сподіваюся, що за рік чи два воно значно розширить кількість своїх продуктів, які будуть приносити реальну користь експортерам. При цьому, значить, по цьому напрямку базове законодавство прийнято ще в 2016 році. Зараз ми його дошліфовуємо, тож ця установа в невеликій перспективі запрацює. Завершуючи свій виступ, я хочу відзначити наступне, що з кожним роком ініціативи по стимулюванню розвитку виробництва в Україні ставатимуть потужнішими. Добробут українських громадян, незважаючи на пандемію, на інші явища, зростатиме, тож Україна ставатиме більш цікавим ринком сама по собі. З іншого боку, Україна близька до Євросоюзу, має угоду про асоціацію з ЄС, відповідно має переваги по розміщенню виробництв для цих ринків у порівнянні, скажімо, з азійськими країнами. І ми розуміємо тенденцію, що Євросоюз намагатиметься мати ланцюги поставок коротші і мати виробництво якихось товарів ближче до себе, особливо або у себе всередині, або в тих країнах, з якими він має асоціацію. І ще, що дуже важливо, Україна веде перемовини з Євросоюзом щодо особливостей застосування екологічних вимог до товарів, що постачаються до ЄС з України. Тобто ми прагнемо, щоб Україна була всередині оцього периметру європейського зеленого курсу, тож розміщуючи виробництво в Україні, ті виробники, які орієнтуються на ринок Євросоюзу, матимуть якісь більш лояльні вимоги по екологічним якимось параметрам по постачанню до Євросоюзу. Зараз український уряд веде перемовини з Євросоюзом з цього приводу. Отже, все це означає, що ті, хто прийде в Україну з інвестиціями раніше, отримують більший зиск, ніж ті, хто прийде в Україну з інвестиціями пізніше. Тому варто цікавитись і варто приходити. Дякую за увагу.
Дуже дякую вам, пане Дмитро, за вашу презентацію, за те, що ви робите, тому що дійсно таких змін в регуляторній політиці, стимулюючих виробництва, не було, в принципі, комплексно за всю історію незалежності України, або не були зроблені вони вже так, щоб їми можна було скористуватися. Тому що індустріальні парки в нас були багато років, закон, але насправді фіскальних стимулів там не було, і система не працювала так, як зараз має запрацювати. Ще раз вам дуже дякую. Дуже дякую тим всім депутатам, які опікуються цим питанням, тому що це дійсно майбутнє України, і це майбутнє нашої стабільності і демократії також. Дякую, бажаю вам гарного дня і успіхів, і спрацюємо далі. Дякую.
Дякую.
And now I would like to invite Vitaliy Koval, governor of the region Rivne, to the floor and make a presentation about success stories they have in the region. I'm sure that Vitaliy will speak about furniture cluster, and it's a very excellent example of how effective management of the region, access to materials, to raw materials, and to skilled labor force, can create this type of investment activity. So, Vitaliy, please, the floor is yours.
Warm greetings from Rivne region. Дозвольте перейду на українську. Сергій, дякую за таку теплу презентацію. Дійсно, знаю ваше відношення до всіх регіонів України і особливе ставлення до нашого регіону. Це взаємно. Дякую. Дозвольте включити презентацію. Хочу спрезентувати на першому слайді. Ви бачите по версії Daily Telegraph найбільш романтичніше місце в світі серед маловідомих місць. Це наш Рівненський тунель кохання. Він знаходиться поблизу обласного центру, 15 кілометрів. І я думаю, що цю картинку ви часто десь бачили. Це саме у нас на Рівненщині. Далі. В 2019 році, коли ми з командою приступили до виконання обов'язків, фактично перша задача, яка стояла перед нами, це визначити позиціонування області і сформувати чітку стратегію, що є Рівненський регіон на карті України і Європи в цілому. Тому ми визначили акцент на смарт-спеціалізацію. І саме в таких галузях, як переробка деревини, IT-сектор, переробка агросировини з доданою вартістю, логістика та високотехнологічне органічне виробництво на землях, які не задіяні були до цього в агросекторі. Тому що, наприклад, у нас 700 тисяч гектарів сільськогосподарських угідь, із них велика частина вперше долучається до обробітку, легалізується і дуже придатна до саме органічного землеробства. Але зупинюсь конкретно саме на першому кластері, це меблевий кластер, тому що дійсно ми маємо абсолютні для цього показники, щоб стартанути. Отже, територія області на 40% вкрита лісами, і це 113 мільйонів кубічних метрів лісосировини, яка приростає кожного року. І зрозумівши, що в нас є такий потужний ресурс, ми всі зусилля поставили на сформування меблевого кластеру, щоб Рівненська область стала регіоном з доданою вартістю. І ви на карті бачите, що в 2019-му ми зростали в меблевому секторі всього на 0,1%, 2020 рік 4,5%, і вже 2021 рік, коли повноцінно весь кластер запрацював, ми маємо зростання до попереднього року 153,4%. Це дуже хороший показник, і крім цього показника, серед всього експорту Рівненського регіону до світу 80% йде саме в країни Європи, тобто це ринок з висококонкурентним середовищем, і з цих 80% 9,2% – це меблі, тобто готовий продукт, де є українська сировина, українські робочі руки і технології. Ми є такою столицею меблевого виробництва України. 63% фанери виробляється саме на території області, 13% ДСП-плит всієї України виробляється в Рівненській області, 22% деревостружних матеріалів, тобто розпилу, і 100% сірників. Єдина сірникова фабрика знаходиться в Україні, саме в Рівному. Що стало передумовою для розвитку і руху саме меблевого кластеру? Розуміння того, що має бути золотий трикутник, хтось називає це триплексом, і це поєднання влади, освіти та бізнесу, щоб ми в синергії працювали саме розуміючи один одного і спілкуючись на однаковій, зрозумілій мові. Основна допомога, яка від влади очікується саме бізнесом, це підготовка кадрів, які є висококласними спеціалістами. Я хочу загострити увагу саме на даному слайді. В цілому в Україні 20% школярів після закінчення школи обирають професійну освіту. Ми розуміємо, що саме професійна освіта – це є кузня кадрів, і саме через професійну освіту приходять спеціалісти на виробництво. Ми заакцентували увагу на даному сегменті і довели цей показник до 41% учнів після шкіл йдуть саме в професійну освіту, це коледжі ПТУ. І сьогодні це найвищий показник в Україні. Крім того, дуже проривна ідея, яка спрацювала, і ми бачимо її результати, це створення навчально-практичних центрів на базі професійної освіти. Що це є? Це фактично заклад в закладі, коли ми спільними зусиллями, використовуючи бюджетні кошти державні, кошти громад, самих навчальних закладів і особливо підтримку грантову, створюємо на базі професійного закладу новітній центр, в якому є надсучасне обладнання, і бізнес замовляє спеціалістів саме для професійного закладу, щоб була підготовка тих категорій професій, які потрібні бізнесу. Фактично регіональне замовлення змінюється, і активно впроваджується дуальна форма навчання, коли учні і студенти вчаться деякий час на виробництвах і паралельно вчаться в своїх професійних закладах. І ми зараз маємо дуже велику чергу на таких спеціалістів: газозварювальники, слюсарі, теслярі, авторемонтники, дорожні працівники. І наша задача як влади – забезпечити якісну підготовку професійних кадрів, щоб вони найближчим часом після закінчення одразу були задіяні на виробництвах. І скажу вам, що в деяких професійних закладах 98% учнів вже забезпечені роботою до закінчення закладу. Також ініціатива, яка спрацювала і дала хороші результати, це створення платформи на базі облдержадміністрації. Це платформа Rivne Work Hub, коли ми постійно на щотижневій основі маємо зустрічі з бізнесом, які говорять про проблеми і про шляхи вирішення, на думку бізнесу, саме по забезпеченню кадрів. Наша задача як влади – забезпечити висококваліфікованими кадрами саме українське виробництво, щоб іноземні інвестори, які прийдуть в Рівненський регіон, мали робочу силу, яка буде працювати. Основні кроки, які ми зробили для розвитку саме меблевого кластеру. Перше – це підписання меморандуму з Асоціацією меблевиків України. Близько 300 учасників взяли участь в стратегічній сесії, і ми накреслили дорожню карту, як рухаємося разом з Асоціацією меблевиків і створюємо цю екосистему саме в Рівненській області стосовно меблевого кластеру. Наступний крок, коли бізнес вже приходив до облдержадміністрації, ми підписували меморандуми. І це не просто були умовні кроки, це кроки, які увінчалися результатом. Наприклад, ви бачите на слайді підписання з австрійської компанії Кроноспан меморандуму в 2019 році. Сьогодні, в 2020 році, вже перша тестова плита запустилась, і це величезне підприємство, яке змінює екосистему і стає основою для розвитку інших складальних виробництв, форматно-розкроєчних виробництв, які виготовляють меблі для потужних сіток Європи і відправляють на експорт. Наступна зустріч була з датською компанією Hjort Knudsen, підписаний меморандум в 2020 році. Сьогодні датська компанія вже на фінішній прямій і будує фабрику з виробництва меблів на 1000 робочих місць. Це також надзвичайний прихід інвестора в область. Сьогодні у нас буде виступати наш колега Френк McMahon. Він також на фото підписання меморандуму і відкриття виробництва поролону. Це друге виробництво в Україні, яке вже є повторною інвестицією в область. Перша інвестиція даного підприємства Morgan Furniture було виробництво диванів і м'яких меблів, а друга інвестиція – це виробництво самого поролону як складової і продукту, які дуже потрібні для меблевого кластеру. Також сьогодні пан Кysylevskyi говорив про індустріальні парки, і Серgiy Tsivkach багато часу приділяє саме цій темі. На сьогодні ми вже маємо 2 зареєстрованих парки. Один державний – це 125 гектарів, близько рівно 15 кілометрів від обласного центру. І інший – це приватний індустріальний парк згаданої компанії Кроноспан, 85 гектарів. Що означає надії? Ті кроки, які зробила Верховна Рада для покращення мікроклімату саме в індустріальних парках. Ми вже маємо право з державного бюджету по програмам виділяти кошти на модернізацію і проведення саме мереж до даних земельних ділянок. Тобто за державні кошти ми вже можемо офіційно проводити підтримку дороги, газ, світло, водопостачання та інші інвестиції, які поліпшують привабливість саме індустріальних парків. Все те, що я говорив до цього призвело до конкретних результатів, які ми сьогодні маємо. 1 вересня 2019 року, коли ми з командою прийшли до управління, сукупна вартість іноземних інвестицій за 28 років в економіку регіону були всього-навсього 134 мільйони доларів. Сьогодні за 2 роки, станом на 1 квітня 2021 року, ми маємо вже 432 мільйони доларів накопичувальних інвестицій в економіку. Тобто за 2 роки область отримала в 3 рази більше інвестицій, ніж до того за 28 років. Це, я думаю, саме відповідь на питання, що Україна розвивається і Україна знаходить своє місце на міжнародній арені саме по виробництву. Тому що маржа закінчується в інших країнах і багато виробництв шукають можливість перейти на територію, де є менші затрати, де є кращий мікроклімат. Кращий мікроклімат в нашому розумінні – це підготовка кадрів, створення такого середовища, яке підтримує, допомагає і розвиває. І на нашу думку, сьогодні нам це вдається. І наостанок скажу, що основний наш меседж – це Рівненщина, територія рівних можливостей. Тут гра слів, тому що рівне означає рівне. І саме створення цих рівних можливостей і філософія підходу до всіх процесів в регіоні дозволяє нам залучати інвестиції, їх впроваджувати в виробництво і створювати додану вартість. Тому закликаємо всіх, welcome to Rivne Region. Приїжджайте до нас, завжди раді, і хочу подякувати організаторам, щоб ми надалі так плідно спрацювали. Дякую, Сергій.
Thank you, Vitaliy. Welcome to Rivne and welcome to Ukraine, because your example should be a very good example to other regions. And we do have some very good regions that also attract good investments, like Odessa, Kyiv, Dnipro, Lviv, you know, just you name it. And now we are going to the most interesting part, because one can watch this live stream and say, well, okay, these are MPs, governors, you know, representatives of state institutions, they're just making promotion. But now we're moving to businessmen, you know, and businessmen who is active in the Rivne region, actually. And that's why we invited governor of region, and Franklin McMahon, Morgan Furniture, Home Group, to talk about their experience from different sides. So governor is trying to make system as effective as possible, and we have seen that investments in the region increased 3-fold in just a couple of years. Now, I would like to invite Franklin. Franklin, could you please share your experience about doing business in Rivne? Franklin is a businessman with very strong history of, well, not only business expertise, but also investment banking, because he was working for some leading investment banks throughout the world. So that's why it's even more interesting when expert like Mr. McMahon enters Ukraine. That means he understands that there is a strong potential and business can be done right now and even be developed more in coming years. So Mr. McMahon, can I invite you to make a presentation about doing business, about your experience in Ukraine, in Rivne?
Thank you very much for that kind introduction. I suppose that I'm a logical speaker at this point in the forum, but because we've been a very big beneficiary of the policies of Rivne Oblast initiated by Governor Koval. And we are not just, I'm delighted to talk in the Make in UA forum, and because we are actually making in UA and shipping around the world. So I think that we are a very relevant case study. I'm a US and Canadian citizen, and I've spent more than 15 years investing in Ukraine, so I think I can speak from firsthand experience. I know the strong points, I also know the challenges. It's been a very interesting development, and I'm very pleased to say that we are very positive with where we are today. Before I founded Home Group and certain other businesses, I was a managing director at Morgan Stanley, in charge of industrial financing in many countries around the world. And this has given me perspective on many different industries and countries. I think that this has been very useful to me in working in Ukraine and other countries. Today, I would like to touch on three topics. First, our history in building a successful consumer products manufacturing business in Ukraine, including our vision for the future, where we would like to take this business, because as you will hear, we are very optimistic. Second, I would like to mention my experience of working with the government, both at the regional and national levels. And finally, I would like to end with a few comments on strategy for the Make in UA program. First, over the past 10 years, we have built Morgan Furniture into a successful production company, which employs around 1,200 people today, and we export sofas and other upholstered furniture throughout much of the EU, the UK, and the United States. It's a great pleasure for me to see the Made in UA label on best-selling products in many regions of the world. This year, our company is set to achieve a revenue growth rate of around 53%. This has been possible because our production is globally competitive, and we've also benefited from some trends in manufacturing, including nearshoring. There are several factors which make our Ukrainian company competitive. These include a very productive workforce, a high-quality factory management, a global supply chain that works because we buy components and materials from all over the world, access to local raw materials such as wood and the engineered boards, which Governor Koval just spoke about, and good infrastructure. Of course, there are other issues that matter as well, but I think of all these different components, I would highlight the talent of the Ukrainian workforce and Ukrainian people as being incredibly important. We are a labor-intensive business. Of course, machinery and technique matter as well, but it's the people that make the main difference. And we've been delighted by most of the experience that we've had. Not everything is perfect in Rivne, but when we benchmark our Ukrainian factory against factories in other countries in Eastern Europe and elsewhere in the world, it is clear that we are in a very strong position. The global market for our products is around 75 billion, and our addressable market is large enough to provide us with a lot of opportunity at the Ukrainian factory. I plan to invest in the expansion of Morgan Furniture with the aim to make it one of the preeminent companies in the furniture sector in Europe. This is a heartfelt mission of mine. We want to not just be a larger, good company, we would like to have an absolute leadership position in Europe, and that's what we're working hard at achieving every week. Specifically, I would like our company to achieve annual revenues of around 6 billion hryvnia or more in the next hurdle. And this will require us to more than double the number of our employees from 1,200 to over 2,500 or more. So this will be good for Ukraine as well as good for us. I think the key point that I would like to underline here, as Mr. Tsivkach mentioned in his introduction, is that our experience shows that it's absolutely possible to build a very successful manufacturing business in Ukraine. I would like to now move briefly to the second topic, which is the experience we've had working with government at both the regional and national levels, because of course the business environment matters. And on this topic, I think the reality in Ukraine is very different from the image, which is outdated. I think there was a time a while ago when perhaps government was not as responsive as it could be. But I think that our experience on a daily and monthly basis is a very different reality now. There are government people that are very committed and doing an incredibly good job at promoting business. Most of the interaction that we have with government is at the regional level. I would like to highlight that our company has benefited from a truly remarkable level of support from the Rivne Oblast administration. In fact, I'm pleased that I can say that we get more support from the Rivne government authorities than we get from any other regional government in Europe. And we have several plants in other countries, in the Baltic states, in Poland, and in Asia. In addition to providing superior support, Governor Koval and his team have developed a very smart economic program to stimulate investments in manufacturing in the region. We fully intend to be an anchor participant in the Rivne furniture cluster. I don't think we could get away from that. I think Governor Koval would rope us in no matter what, but we are delighted to participate in this because the cluster concept is really a winning policy program. At the national level, I'd like to highlight that UkraineInvest has been very supportive, and we have a very constructive relationship with UkraineInvest, which I think plays an absolutely key role, because knowledge about Ukraine and the image of Ukraine need to be improved from what the world is simply underinformed about the realities in Ukraine. And I think that it's very important, and this forum is playing a key role in disseminating new information that other countries, other investors need to hear. You know, among many programs that are taking place, as Dmytro mentioned a few minutes ago, the new law on industrial parks is, in my view, very positive and should help to stimulate FDI. Before I leave this topic of government, I'd just like to mention one thing about implementation issues. As Governor Koval showed a picture of a new factory that we recently completed, we went from completing the factory to full permission exploitation permits in the span of 2.5 days. So people that think that it's difficult to get a project approved or permitted are not entirely correct. The reality that we are living today is that things are getting done at a record speed. I don't think that we could permit a factory in Poland at the speed that we just did in Rivne. So that speaks volumes in terms of what is happening in our region. I'd like to finish by making a few short comments about the strategy related to the Make in UA program. Since it's not possible to prioritize all sectors, it is important for UkraineInvest to focus on the sectors that are likely to yield the best FDI and economic results over time. However, I think that it would probably be a mistake for Ukraine to focus primarily on sectors where it is already strong, such as engineered products or agricultural food and beverage products. You know, there might be a natural tendency to prioritize sectors that are already competitive, that have deep expertise and success. But I think a balanced approach, which includes sectors with very different characteristics, might generate the best long-term results. Thus, I suspect that it probably would make sense for UkraineInvest to prioritize a few innovative, high-value added sectors which have a great future. For instance, maybe this would include additive manufacturing. Why not? Ukraine has shown that it's capable of being world-beating in the IT domain. Why wouldn't some manufacturing sectors that are on the cutting edge, that have explosive expansion potential, not be included, even if they have not historically been a core part of the economy? They will be a part of the future. Together with prioritizing medium high value added sectors such as engineered products or automotive components. And finally, I think that it also makes sense to include a number of more modest value added sectors such as furniture, building materials, and assembly operations, among many others that I could name. Because my point is that less glamorous sectors such as furniture should not be dismissed, because they have the potential to contribute a great deal to the development of the Ukrainian economy. I think one example that's very telling is what has happened in Poland. A lot of the furniture industry from Italy, Germany, France, and other parts of Europe migrated to Poland, and they've had great success from an employment, export, and production and tax perspective because of the furniture industry. It's not the most glamorous industry in the world, but it can be very enabling for the economy. So I think that it makes a lot of sense to have a balanced or mixed set of industrial priorities. And I think that this is one thing that I would urge UkraineInvest to study, which is what is the optimal mix of sectoral priorities in going forwards. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Franklin. Thank you very much for this presentation. Yes, indeed. When we were talking about priority sectors, we were thinking just in terms of very initial analysis. And furniture was there, as you have seen. But in order to identify most promising sectors, we want to look at deeper analytics, and we want to engage partners from throughout the world to do it with us. Because this is not about Ukraine. This is about bilateral relations. This is about win-win. So we have to cooperate with our US partners, Canadian partners, UK partners, German partners, French, Scandinavian, etc. Because we need to think what would be the most promising sectors for bilateral cooperation that will bring benefits to both countries. Thank you very much for all updates that you have provided. 2.5 days for registration. Excellent results. Again, another star to the governor of Rivne region. And we continue cooperating with you. So thank you very much, Franklin, and have a good day. Yes, thank you. Maybe if the audience have any questions, please type them in and speakers will be able to answer them. I was answering some of them, but maybe some other speakers can be asked questions as well. So now I would like to move to our next speaker, Svitlana Yarova. You know, some people believe in reincarnation, and sometimes when I speak to Svitlana, I start to believe in reincarnation as well, because I believe that in previous life, she was definitely head of probably the biggest manufacturing enterprise or industrial parks just in some, very developed country. Because only person with that passion in her, as I said, heart, can do what she and her team is doing in Vinnytsia region. So Svitlana, please, the floor is yours. Can you please tell us about your industrial parks? Could you please tell us about future of development of manufacturing in the region? Can you see that tendency being spread throughout the country? And maybe your comments and views on making Ukraine strategy as well. Svitlana, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergiy. My pleasure. Greetings from Vinnytsia. First of all, I would like to thank you for the invitation. It's my pleasure to be a part of such a prominent event. And thank you, Sergiy, one more time for such a great and detailed promotive preview. I even don't need to present myself, but still, today I would like to talk on the issue of industrial parks actually in Vinnytsia. So as Sergiy already said, that an important task of the state policy in Ukraine is formation of the infrastructure for innovation and investment model of the economy at all levels, national, regional, and local. And development of the industrial parks creates an opportunity to fully unleash the investment potential of the regions. I would like to show you how Vinnytsia industrial parks look like and which participants we already have. So I will load it up my small presentation, just need a moment. So at the bottom of this probably slide, you can see UBC Group plant that produce refrigerators and other equipment for the world famous companies such as PepsiCo, Coca-Cola, Heineken, Nestle, and other brands. The plant has been working since 2018. And next year, the company is going to start the construction of a second plant. On the right hand of our industrial parks, we can see the Winter Sport Industrial Park, the territory where the head group is going to produce the high quality ski equipment. Now they are building the first plant and planning to build 2 more plants. The first plant will be finished already in the end of 2022. And besides, we have TCS, Agro Oil and NAS company. They're located on the territory of Vinnytsia Industrial Park. As for the first two companies, this is the question of time when they are going to start the construction of their factories. And as for the NAS group, they already made their work, and they're going to supply the industrial park with the electricity. Our industrial park equipped with the necessary engineering infrastructure, power supply, water supply, drainage, gas supply. We spend a lot of time and money for the city, from the city budget to develop this territory, but it's about 40% of the work we should done. And changes to the law Mr. Kysylevskyi spoke about are very useful in order to successfully complete the infrastructure works. We really appreciate his work of Parliament, and grateful for new opportunities within this law. More of that we expect to be included in the state program for financing infrastructure in the industrial parks. This will allow to complete the development successfully. I was talking about Vinnytsia, why you have to choose this city, why those companies decided to choose Ukraine, and why they decided to choose Vinnytsia. Let me show you some advantages. So here we have the picture of industrial parks. And as you see, Vinnytsia has a favorable geographical location. This provides an opportunity to connect with all regional centers of Ukraine and bordering countries. International airport is located in the city and currently being renovated, so we can accept few international flights at the same time. Developed engineering and transport infrastructure, network of road and rail connections connect the regional center with the capital and seaports of the Black and Azov Seas. Our city is located at the intersection of two European roads, and it easily connected us with European ports and to the other seas. Also, we have a number of advantages. I will tell just a few. Like Vinnytsia received the first European Energy Award certificate, not just between Ukrainian cities, but among all European cities. Also,
investors choose Vinnytsia. Tell us when had entered Vinnytsia, when the other companies that are in your industrial parks. What are the key benefits? How did you attract them? Share your experience and what they do now.
Oh, it was a huge teamwork. With UkraineInvest, with national level, with office of president, with regional administration, with city council, and because of people, because of managers, because of people who will work on the plants, I would say that we have a huge human capital and a lot of advantages like transparency in the city council. Vinnytsia is the leader in investment sector transparency rating from the International Anti-Corruption Network, Transparency International. And of course, this year we ranked second in the Forbes Ukraine rating among the best cities for doing business. For 7 years in a row, our city is recognized as the most comfortable in Ukraine, according by a study by, IRI, International Republican Institute.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the biggest priorities is human capital, cheap and responsible. The average salary is $400 per month against $1,200 in Poland.
So your labor force is effective in the region, and you're saying that it's also effective not because of the companies, but because the city provided comfortable conditions for them to live in, and this is also about social standards.
Sure, we already expanded 92 billion hryvnias for infrastructure. And next year,
so that's 92 billion hryvnias. So this is about $3.5 billion.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Quite a big amount for the region.
It's worth about more advantages. It's worth to highlight the favorable price offer. Buying 1 hectare in the territory of park, it is 30% cheaper compared to other offers with the city or with this part of region in Europe. The rent is around $5,000 per year, which is also very profitable. Also, we appreciate
residents, because I'm sure that many people that listen to us now, they maybe not come from manufacturing, so for them it will be maybe too technical. But they will be probably more interested to hear brands that are already present and then want to locate manufacturing in Vinnytsia and what they will be producing, just to understand. Yeah, are we talking about high value added, or are we talking about, I don't know, just some small things that will be produced?
Right, it will be high value added, especially about brands. Okay, the hugest brand. I heard that it called the biggest investment news in Ukraine for last 10 years. The HAT group, they started to build plant in Vinnytsia Industrial Park in May 2021, and they planning to finish the first plant in the end of 2022. They planning to build 2 more plants, but their conception still not ready. Maybe it will be something for tennis, maybe something for ski. They're not sure now, but the first plan, in the first plan, they will produce boots, innovative boots with gel inside, which will help your legs
feel more comfortable when skiing. Yes.
Not only comfortable, but it will be more safe. It will autonomically work with your leg. Yes,
put it in the right position.
Yeah, as well, we have that UBC factory. We have Berlinek brand. They are producers of how do you call
flooring?
Wood
flooring.
Yeah, flooring.
Flooring,
right.
yeah, flooring, wooden flooring.
Right. So they are the hugest producers in Europe.
So one more last question before we go. We are invited to you because you have good experience in terms of industrial parks, and you have managed to develop your industrial parks during times when there were no fiscal incentives. So I know that in Ukraine, we had like 51 registered industrial parks. And in terms of number of residents, how many residents you had so far compared to other regions? Is that like you have top example in Ukraine, or there were some other industrial parks with more residents than you have?
We have 5 residents right now, but if you're interested,
we still have. Yeah.
As I heard, Dmytro Kysylevskyi said that this is like great result, that we have in Ukraine only 5 really working industrial parks, and 3 of them in Vinnytsia. So maybe this is a good result, but we still have 320 hectares. If you're interested and want to produce something in central Ukraine, we will give you all support which you will need.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Svitlana. Next time we will look at your presentation and we will make sure that it works fine. Thank you for the work.
We will practice before. Thank you. And so I'm so sorry for this.
That's absolutely fine. And thank you for the work you do. And when I see you on Sunday or Saturday on Facebook and you're wearing heavy boots on construction site, you know, that's a sign of real will to attract investor to your region. Thank you very much. And please send best regards to all your colleagues and to regional authorities. Thank you. So we're going to wrap up now because the next session is waiting. Yes. Just a couple of last messages. So what we have heard today, that reality versus outdated image of Ukraine. This is important because Ukraine is changing. We need to change the image. And in terms of image, we already did some very strong steps in terms of development of a regulatory policy, but we need now to bring strategy to the table. So we are working on that strategy on making Ukraine table. Is it possible to do business in Ukraine? Absolutely, yes. Is that possible to do it in manufacturing sector? Yes. And 11.7%, the strongest figure, 11.7% share of GDP in Ukraine of manufacturing. That's a good sign of that. And also IT and fintech sector were quite famous for Ukraine, and I'm sure that manufacturing would be the next one. And very last comment, I would like to congratulate everyone on the 1st of December today, because 1st of December as well, it was the day when Ukrainians voted on national referendum for our independence. So let's work on it and let's ensure that our economic independence will become even stronger. Thank you for invitation and thank you for all the work you do for development of Ukraine. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Sergiy, and thank you to you for putting together such an excellent panel. If I might just, again, I'll just underscore what you said. You know, we at the foundation began working in Ukraine actually even before independence. So we've seen Ukraine's development up close, let's say, and personal. And I think the fact you're absolutely correct. We need to change the perception, the stereotypes to what is really going on. This is so exciting for us at the foundation because we believe working at the grassroots level, and we did so for many, many years. And as we know, the economy of any country is not grown in the capital city. It's what happens out throughout the land. And certainly in the United States, you know, the governors drive the economy of their state. So it's been wonderful to hear from Governor Koval and also from Franklin about the great success that is taking place in the region. And Svitlana, whether or not you had the slides, that, yes, I'm sure you're disappointed, but your message has come through. And we've heard a lot about Vinnytsia, all the reasons. So we will have to look and strategize with Sergiy how we can help to change and produce, you know, an accurate picture. We never hide from the problems of what's going on in Ukraine, but we certainly work very, very hard to show the progress that has been made. And kudos to all of you. So thank you for a fantastic presentation.